diskusi mengenai student engagement untuk undergraduate research dan juga untuk graduate student involved di penelitian ini. Nah, hari ini kita butuh mendapatkan satu pembicara yang sangat penting, yaitu Profesor Thomas Wesley, dan beliau adalah Director dari Center for Post-Secondary Research. Nah, hari ini kita akan membahas sebuah sesi yang pertama. Yang pertama adalah mengenai sesi tentang apa yang disebut sebagai student engagement. Ini yang pertama. Nah, kita akan bahas dulu. Dan yang kedua, kita akan membahas bagaimana aplikasinya pada penelitian undergraduate dan juga di graduate. Nah, di sini saya atas nama program S3 dan juga nama unit yang memang tertarik dengan student engagement ini. Sekali lagi ini suatu diskusi awal yang semuanya akan kita video ya. Dan program S3 sama-sama dengan yang lain itu akan mencoba untuk membanggakan dari video ini untuk menjadi suatu pembelajaran mengenai apa yang disebut student engagement. Okay, so we discussed about it. I try to introduce you, and we plan to have like statement that this is first encounter or first session of the long process of what is the student engagement and how the application for research in undergraduate and postgraduate. So this is like the beginning of new things for us. Okay. Jadi kita akan berdiskusi sekali dan kita akan silakan Pak Thomas untuk presentasi selama 15 menit what is student engagement. Okay, yes.
Selamat pagi. Good morning. I'll spend this morning talking a little about student engagement. We'll have time to talk after that, and then I'll present on undergraduate research and involving graduate students in research. Thank you for having me this morning. It's fun to be here, and I'm glad to be able to share some of the work that I do with this group. Before starting about student engagement, I thought I would give you a little bit of background about myself. I have 2 degrees in mathematics, my undergraduate degree and a master's or S2 degree in mathematics. And my PhD is in education and higher education from the University of Michigan. After that time, I spent 2 years as a data analyst for a project called the National Survey of Student Engagement, which is at Indiana University, and I'll talk about that project as a part of my talk in this first part. NESI, the National Survey of Student Engagement, is called NESI, and NESI is a survey that has been adapted for Indonesia as well, and there's a survey being run here at UGM called ISLA, the Indonesian Survey of Student Learning Activities, and so there are things happening here at UGM connected to NESI, so that's part of why I'm here in Jogja, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. After my years as a data analyst, I became a professor at Indiana University. I've been a professor for 11 years now. NESI and other projects like it are a part of a research center at Indiana University called the Center for Post-Secondary Research, and I currently serve as that center's director. And I'm an associate professor and former program coordinator of our higher education program at Indiana University, similar to the Higher Education Leadership and Management program here at UAM. My own research, my areas of expertise, I study university teaching and learning. So what lecturers do and what students do and how they're engaged in their activities. I also study and work on assessment in higher education. I'm the principal investigator for a survey of university lecturers called the Faculty Survey of Student Engagement, and my work is almost always quantitative data analysis based on questionnaire responses. So, talk a little bit this morning about student engagement and Sesi. First of all, it's important to understand the notion of effective educational practices. We use this phrase to talk about activities and practices that research, and that research is mostly based in the US, but that research shows are related to desired educational outcomes. So the kind of outcomes, critical thinking, being able to get a job, being a good member of society, the kind of outcomes that universities are supposed to produce in their graduates. For effective educational practices, the focus is on what students do. So their actual behaviors, not the outcomes, and the process of encouraging those behaviors. And what we call student engagement is students engaging in those effective educational practices. So I'll talk a little bit more about what those practices are. So what is engagement? Challenging academic work. How much are students dealing with high expectations of their lecturers, using deeper approaches to learning? So not just memorization, but analyzing, synthesizing information from across contexts. How it's also the amount and quality of their involvement with faculty. We use the phrase faculty not to mean all of the lecturers and instructors here. Faculty means lecturer or professor. And this is, are they interacting with lecturers and instructors in class, outside of class? Are they getting to know them? Also, enriching activities and high-impact practices. Are they collaborating, are students collaborating with their peers to study for exams or to work on assignments? Are they involved in educational experiences like service learning or undergraduate or research with a faculty member that provide powerful learning for those students? And then finally, are the people on campus, like their other students, the lecturers, the staff, and the campus in general, do students feel that it's providing them with support? And so those are the key components, or one way of looking at the components of engagement. From our perspective, engagement is a joint project. It's the institution, the lecturers, and students have an effect on how students engage. It is about priorities, incentives, assignments, and requirements. What do lecturers tell students they have to do? What does the institution? Also, do students have the support in order to do that, right? You could tell a student, go do a research project, but if they don't know how, if they don't have the information, they don't have the equipment, they don't have other things, how will they do it? So they need the support for it to happen. Expectations, what are we expecting of our students? Are we expecting them to spend a lot of time studying? Or are we expecting them to not study very much? How much are these learning opportunities being offered on campus, and are students partaking in them? And then how much effort and enthusiasm? As we all know, we can flip the pages in the book and read the words, but we have to bring some energy to it. We have to be somewhat invested in order to learn from our reading. So are they bringing that to the table? Okay, so what is Sesi? National Survey of Student Engagement is an annual survey of first-year students and fourth-year students at bachelor's granting, S1 granting institutions in the US and Canada. We assess students' exposure to and participation in effective educational practices. Sesi has been around since 2000, and students at 1,600 institutions in the US and Canada have done Sesi at least once. So thousands of students. We send emails to students to ask them to participate in the survey. We email about 1.5 million students every spring and get responses from hundreds of thousands of students from hundreds of institutions each year. The reason that we're doing this is that when we talk about the quality of an institution, oftentimes we talk about what resources the institution has, how much research it does, how much money it spends on research, how many research grants it gets, what the average entrance exam score of a student is, and other indicators that have nothing to do with the teaching and learning that happen while students are at an institution. And so we are trying to shift the conversation about the quality of colleges and universities to focus on the teaching and learning process, what students and lecturers are doing. We're also trying to provide information that institutions can use to make change, make improvement on campus. So if for example, UGM finds out that its students and its lecturers and professors are not interacting very much, UGM can take some action to promote the relationship between those two groups. So the survey provides actionable information to those. It also provides comparative information. So when Indiana University participates in Sesi, Indiana University gets information about itself, but it also gets information about itself in relation to other research universities and all of the institutions that participate. So they can find out where Indiana University is doing better than other institutions and where it is lagging behind other institutions. The Sesi instrument, we talk about the frequency of participation in these effective educational practices. We talk about the cognitive emphasis of courses. So are the courses that students take emphasizing analysis, synthesis? How much reading are students doing? How much writing are they doing? High impact practices, those are those powerful learning experiences like service learning and undergraduate research. The quality of the relationships with students and lecturers and others on campus. How much time do they spend on certain activities? And the institutional emphases. Is the institution supportive? Does it emphasize studying a lot? Does it emphasize supporting students? We break the survey down to help people understand what's there into different measures, and those measures are collected into themes. So there are 5 themes: academic challenge, learning with peers, experiences with faculty, campus environment, and high impact practices. 5 themes with multiple measures under each theme. And those multiple measures we call indicators. So higher order learning, that's a measure of how much students' courses emphasize higher order thinking and analysis, synthesis, and others. Reflective and integrated learning, how much are students reflecting about their learning experience and integrating the learning that happens across courses and their experiences on campus. Learning strategies, how do they study? Do they review their notes? Do they summarize activities after class? Quantitative reasoning, can they take quantitative information? How often do they take quantitative information and make sense of that? Collaborative learning, how much do students work with one another? Discussions with diverse others. How much do students interact across differences in terms of economic background, political background, religious background, and other things? Student-faculty interaction, how much are students interacting with lecturers, professors, and so forth, inside and outside the classroom? Effective teaching practices, how much are students exposed to teaching practices in the classroom that are known to be good practices? Quality of their interactions with other people on campus is under campus environment, as well as students' perception of how supportive the environment is. And then high impact practices, we measure students' participation in 6 different high impact practices, whether they're a part of a learning community, which is usually a group of students who live together and take multiple courses together in the same course. Service learning, research with faculty or research with professors, study abroad. In the U.S., sometimes students take a semester or a year and they go study at a university outside of the U.S. Internships or field experiences, and then a senior culminating experience, something like a thesis or a sort of culminating project to your undergraduate career. So those are things that we talk about in terms of what students need to do to engage. We'll be able to talk for a little bit right now about student engagement and what that means and how that might be implemented in here. But I wanted to point out, in the second part of my presentation, we're going to talk about research with professors for undergraduates, and then how I, in particular, involve graduate students in the research process. So that's the circle there is to say that's what's to come. So I am just about out of time. I've done a decent job. I have 34 seconds left. But we can talk. So if people have questions or ideas, things that they want to raise.